In a recent YouTube poll, I asked what my next daily phone should be, and over 2,000 of you voted for the OPPO Find N5. Now, I won't lie, I was secretly rooting for it, even though part of me was curious to try the Razr too, but the truth is, I'd already had a taste of the thinness Kool-Aid when my friend Patrick visited not long ago and casually pulled the N5 out of his pocket. I love the chamfered edges. Look at how thin this is.
It is really thin.
That was nice. This was my first hands-on moment with it, and it really left a mark. So naturally, when the phone finally arrived, I felt like a total nerd. You know, buzzing with excitement before I even broke the seal. But I didn't expect to geek this much before I even turned it on. You see, this thing feels like it bends the laws of physics. It's so impossibly thin, it almost feels unfair to everything else on the market. Honestly, I could probably do an entire video just about the way this thing is built. Day 1, 3 p.m, unplugging the phone for the first time after being charged at 100% and updated to the latest version of the Color OS. So let's see how long it lasts before I need to charge it again. Not only it is incredibly light and comfortable to use one-handed, but the hinge opens and closes with the finesse and confidence of an old-school German saloon. You know, back when things were over-engineered in the best way possible. Now, one thing that I'll need to get used to is the position of the power button, which also works as a fingerprint reader. It's kind of like too far north in the frame, so that means I need to adjust to using it this far up. But aside from that, the speed this thing unlocks is absolutely bonkers. I love it. And by the way, for the first time in what feels like forever, I experienced an unboxing that actually felt premium. A proper introduction, an 80-watt SuperVOOC charger in the box, bless you OPPO, and get this, a case with a built-in hinge protector. Now, I'm not usually a fan of those split rear cases on foldables as they often feel like an afterthought. But this one is as refined as the phone itself. It melts into the chamfered edges so naturally that you barely notice the slight lip that protrudes. It's the kind of case that won't ruin the design and still lets me slap a ring on the back of my phone for the usual, propping contraptions that I have. What's funny is that even with it on, this phone feels thinner and lighter than both my Ultra and something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, it didn't take long for me to realize that my initial complaint about the power button placement was in fact entirely intentional. Coming from the Pixel Fold and other devices in this category, I quickly saw the logic. Placing the button higher up actually makes it easier to open the device, especially when it's this thin. This way there's enough surface area on both sides to get a good grip and unfold it with ease. At this point, the only thing left to get used to is the volume rocker being at the very top, but even that feels more intuitive than the reversed setup on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. With all the action buttons and camera buttons introductions recently, I want to give a shout out to the alert slider because this thing makes so much sense and I really hope it doesn't become extinct. You see, spending time with OnePlus 13 earlier gave me a bit of deja vu here with ColorOS 15, which feels like a sibling to Oxygen OS. It's familiar in many ways, but with a personality of its own. There is a tiny bit of bloat, but I was met with thoughtful design choices. Larger interface folders, clean single-row widget foldies, which are awesome, and subtle animations that feel intentional. Everything runs fast and fluid, and if I want to push the pace, there's even a built-in toggle to speed up the animation, so no need to tinker with developer settings. That said, unlike the Galaxy Z Fold, there's no support for separate home screen layouts between the folded and unfolded states, so I have to think twice about what shows up on the left side of the home screen, as that's what always shows up first when I unlock the phone folded. But when it comes to multitasking, the Find N5 plays in a different league. Once unfolded, the traditional dual app layout works exactly as expected, but it goes further. If it notices I'm switching between two apps often, it nudges me with a subtle suggestions. Hey, maybe you can run them side by side. It is a little bit after 3 p.m. and I just want to point out that it has been exactly 24 hours since my first charge of the phone. It is now at 14% and I have over 9 hours of screen on time with all the setup and everything else that I went through last night, watching videos before bedtime, giving it to my kids to, play with it a little bit, and then shooting with it today and experimenting, syncing files, everything else. I'm super impressed that a phone this thin is performing that well on day one. And then there's the 3-app view, which genuinely impressed me. Just like dual split, I can have 3 apps loaded where with a tap, I can cycle left or right between them. And when I want to see all 3 at once, a simple 4-finger zoom out gesture gives me a full overview. Even the dock is smart enough to offer quick access back to a previously used trio of apps. Taking things further, I can expand each of those apps or windows and make them almost full screen. I just tap on the 3 little dots on the top and tap on expand, and boom, it becomes a full screen. So now I can just jump between those 2 apps and the app on the bottom, or I can come back here and expand this app, let's say expand, and then move over here and then expand this app. And now I have 3 full screen tablet size apps that I can just move around. Absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to hooking up the Find N5 to an external display, it's clear this isn't trying to compete with something like Samsung DeX. Think more of the early days of the iPad with black bars than full desktop replacement. Still, it's a sharp experience, and when used as a portable tablet on its own, propped with a keyboard and a mouse, it's surprisingly capable. That massive 8.12-inch inner display, which I believe is the largest on any book-style foldable, really makes a difference. It's razor sharp, plenty bright at 2100 nits, and smooth thanks to the adaptive 120Hz refresh rate. Interestingly, the cover screen is a tad brighter, peaking at almost 2500 nits, and both panels come with a 2160Hz PWM dimming, which helps reduce eye strain, especially in low-light environments. Now, OPPO offers an app called OPPO Connect, available for both Windows and Mac, and it makes file management and sharing between the phone and a computer feels effortless. After years of dealing with the clunky mess that is Android file transfer on macOS, using this feels like a breath of fresh air. It's smooth, intuitive, and honestly one of the best remote file management solutions I've come across for any Android phone. Now, one thing that I was super excited to try and show you is remote control, or the ability to control my Mac from the phone itself. Given the real estate of this device, this would have been awesome, but for some reason I can't make it work on my end. I tried on 2 computers with no luck at all. And I'm running the latest versions of the software, so I'm not sure if there's a regional restriction for this or there's something else going on. By the way, OPPO Connect can also be installed on iPhones, acting as a bridge, or more actually as an AirDrop alternative between 2 very different ecosystems. Sharing is as simple as selecting the file and choosing the nearby iPhone, or even just tapping the 2 devices together to trigger an AirDrop style animation. It's a surprisingly elegant solution for cross-platform sharing, and it actually works. In my mind, day 3 was all about camera testing. I had already gathered a few impressions from casual family moments earlier, but I wanted to really put the system through its paces. Go out, explore, and just have fun with it. Like the OnePlus 13, the Hasselblad tuned trio on the back delivers a look that's warm, rich, and very much my kind of aesthetic. Both the wide and telephoto sensors are 50 megapixels, and there's real potential there. The photos they produce are sharp, full of character, and consistently pleasing. The portrait shots are among the best I've seen from any phone, with only the occasional cutout hiccups. But what really stands out is how non-reliant this phone is on portrait mode to impress. Unlike the iPhone, where you often switch to portrait just to fake that pro camera look, these standard photos from the OPPO Find N5 already look like they've been professionally shot. Now, unlike some other phones, the watermark or the frame, the Hasselblad one, is something that can be removed
after the fact. So if I have taken the photo with the Hasselblad frame, I can go to edit of the photo inside the default gallery app, and I can go to watermark and change the layout or completely strip it out and move back to the classic style of taking the photo.
More than once, especially when that signature OPPO frame is active, the results felt like polished advertising images without even trying. And that honestly is one of the biggest compliments I can give. To be honest, at one point I noticed a tendency for overexposure, only to later realize I'd accidentally cranked the exposure value to +2, which is totally on me. Here's a test using the outer screen camera, which is 8 megapixels, and it shoots 4K at 30, just like the inner screen camera. I have all the beauty filters turned off, so you can let me know in the comments what it looks like, and of course, what it sounds like. Here is a test using the inner screen camera, which again is 8 megapixels, and it is what you'll most likely use during meetings. If there's one downside, it is the 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is fine, but only when there's tons of light. Don't get me wrong, it does the job, but compared to the other two lenses, the difference in detail is pretty noticeable.
The most unique way of taking an ultralight photo is to go way down on the subject, and this being a foldable, I can take advantage of that. If I trigger the camera and switch to ultrawide, I can do this and move the preview to the other half of the screen, so I have a clear image of what I'm taking a picture of. Nice.
Still, whether I'm shooting in good light or pushing it in darker scenes, this camera setup proves to be reliably solid for both photos and video. Okay, so we're testing the rear-facing cameras, and I'm shooting at 4K in 60 frames per second and in front of the store, picking up the latest Switch 2. I'm super excited, and in fact we might do an unboxing of that video using this very same camera, so you can tell me what it looks like later on.
Okay, here it is, the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm super excited to unbox it, and I'm double excited to use the OPPO Find N5 for that purpose. Now, the cool thing again, this being a foldable, means that I can launch the camera and use the propping functionality of the phone to switch this screen as a preview. So I'll tap here, and then boom. So I need to adjust the orientation so that everything makes sense, and I can just put the camera here, like so. Nice. Hit record. And we're gonna turn this into a short for the channel. And with that, the short is complete. Now, I get a message that the screen brightness has been reduced because of the extended recording time. But that's okay, I can stop the recording. And one thing I noticed was that the preview footage looked a little bit choppy, which hopefully is not the case when it comes to the actual footage itself. Swipe forward. Yeah, everything is smooth, which is nice. So the choppiness probably comes in from the fact that the processor was working a lot while shooting in 4K at 60, but you can preview the footage here and see it in 16:9 instead of vertical. And let me know what you think.
So, 5 days in, with plenty of hours spent tinkering, gaming, having fun, and just fooling around, I am convinced this is the foldable to beat. In fact, this is the phone to beat, period. I honestly think this might be the phone that I keep coming back to for the rest of 2025. That and the X8 Ultra that I'm also eager to test. I still can't believe how the Find N5 is as thin as the USB-C port that allows it, yet somehow outperforms even the Ultras of the world. At this point, it's hard not to look at everything else on the market and feel like that they have just been coasting. What makes the OPPO Find N5 so special is how effortlessly it lives in both worlds. It's a foldable that feels just as natural as a regular phone. And as someone who lives and breathes this stuff, I'm willing to swallow the ridiculous price tag. Now, do I wish it were cheaper? Of course. Would I recommend it to everyone? Not exactly. This is a phone for people who love foldables and don't need to stress over the budget. But if that sounds like you, this is a productivity powerhouse with almost no compromises, as long as your wallet agrees. And if you want to dive deeper into my foldable obsession, check out my Pixel 9 Pro Fold and Z Fold episodes, linked right here. Like and subscribe to the channel as well as my newsletter, and as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is E, over and out.